Communications Minister Richard Alston is currently steering the sale of the third tranche through a hostile Senate towards a $35 billion pot of gold. By his side, Alan Jones, the ratings king of Struggle Street, whose program is now sponsored by the telecommunications giant. This morning, Alston's smile will fade and Jones will have his work cut out for him as the sales proponents digest our story, a saga the Howard government won't welcome, nor the directors and management of Australia's most powerful company.
We've clear evidence that Telstra has broken the law across a broad front.
Therefore, you have an obligation to go to the police and have that dealt with.
Well, I'm coming to you to ask you what you think about it.
I don't run criminal investigations. If you say there's been a breach of the law, then the obvious people to deal with that are the police.
But the police have been looking at criminal behaviour by Telstra, and for 4 years now, specifically the major fraud group of the Victoria Police. Today, we raise serious questions about that investigation and about the conduct of the Federal Minister himself.
Would you agree, sir, that you've taken an extraordinary interest in the investigation by the major fraud group in Victoria?
No, I wouldn't agree with that at all.
Well, you've even made phone calls to the investigating officers, correct?
No? Not correct.
That denial will come as a surprise to this man, Neil Jepson, an investigating solicitor for the major fraud group. He received not one phone call from the Minister, but two. His superiors have forbidden him to talk to Sunday.
You made 2 calls, sir, to Neil Jepson, the major fraud group's investigating solicitor. 2 phone calls.
The year was 1999, after Alston had become aware that Jepson was gathering evidence of alleged wrongdoing at the highest levels of Telstra. Here's Jepson talking about his inquiries in a police record of interview in March 1999.
Yeah, we're looking at possible charges of perjury and attempt to divert the course of justice, and, you throw conspiracy in.
Neil Jepson evidently told Richard Alston the same thing when the Senator cold called him the same year.
Well, I may have done. You may have done. It's the sort of conversation you'd remember, isn't it?
Not at all.
Well, he certainly remembers it.
Well, he may well. Maybe he doesn't get very many calls from Commonwealth ministers.
Right, so you're accepting that there's a possibility that you did call him?
Yes, I haven't said that I didn't. I'm just saying I have no recollection. You asked me whether I recalled it, and I'm saying I don't.
Do you think that was a proper intervention on your part?
Well, I have no recollection of the event, so it's a bit hard for me to pass judgment on what it was that I was seeking. I'm entitled to make inquiries, and if I've done that on occasions, I've done it because I've been concerned to know whether matters are being properly investigated, I presume.
But as we'll see, far from being properly investigated in the 3 years since, there's evidence the major fraud group has been dragging its heels. Neil Jepson, as solicitor, recommended a full investigation proceed, and it's supposedly still current. But 3 years on, no charges have been laid, and some of the key figures allegedly involved in illegal behaviour haven't even been interviewed. We're at the Melbourne home of Telstra's former Director for Consumer Affairs, Ted Benjamin.
Did you lie under oath in this affidavit before the Victorian Supreme Court?
I did tell no lie.
The evidence suggests that Edward John Benjamin gave false and misleading statements to both the Victorian Supreme Court and a Senate inquiry.
I will be responding in writing to your producer.
In his response to Sunday, Benjamin denied any wrongdoing, saying, "I gave my evidence believing it to be truthful, and I still believe it to be truthful." But where are the fraud groups investigated?
Have you been interviewed by the Victoria Police on this?
I have not.
You haven't? So the police haven't been to see you, sir? Well, you told me the Victorian Police are investigating this. If they're the responsible authority, then they're the ones to look at it. If Commonwealth offences are involved, then presumably Commonwealth officers will investigate as well.
Well, you've been given all of the material, and so has Darryl Williams, the Attorney General, and you've had it for more than a year. What have you done about it?
Well, I'm not aware of having sat on any material for more than a year. I'm aware of...
Well, all of this material has been given to you, and in fact correspondence as recently as the last couple of months has been given to us showing that you've been fully informed about what's been going on?
Well,
Have you called in the federal police?
well, it's not my job to call in the federal police. I don't make...
Then the minister drops a bombshell.
In recent weeks, I have been provided with material which I'm told raises very serious concerns, and I've sought legal advice on that material.
With whom?
On my department. And I haven't received the advice.
But this is a current investigation that you're pursuing yourself.
I've just explained to you that matters relating to the conduct of Telstra have been raised with me. I've been provided with material, and I've referred that material to my department for advice.
That material was evidently provided to Richard Alston at a meeting he had 5 weeks ago, on September 26th, with the Queensland National Party Senator Ron Boswell. Boswell drew the minister's personal attention to evidence already provided to his office, evidence that suggests Telstra seriously misled not just the minister himself, but the courts and the parliament.
Now, it's not my job to pass judgment on those matters, and as a barrister I would know how dangerous it is to be selective in your judgment or to rush to judgment based on what one or more people with a very keen awareness of certain aspects of the case might think. So my first instinct is always to stand back and get independent advice on the matter.
This is news that will send shockwaves through the ranks of Telstra and the investment community as a whole. The nightmare scenario of a federal investigation into the telecommunications giants on the eve of the Senate square-off that will decide its fate. It effectively cripples, at least for the moment, the government's carefully crafted plan to reap the benefits of the sell-off of the third tranche. Its dream of paying off the national debt by offloading the remaining 50.1% of Telstra still in public hands. And it gets worse. There is now high-level legal opinion that on the evidence, only a royal commission into Telstra can get to the truth.
In my opinion, the only way to really deal with this is a royal commission of the kind that is happening in New South Wales in respect of HIH, because it's only in a royal commission that you can really get people to answer questions.
Dr. Dale Smith is a senior member of the Queensland Bar, a barrister who's reviewed the evidence on behalf of one of the complainants who've become known as the casualties of Telstra.
Is there evidence, do you think, that Telstra has broken the law? The corporate entity?
It's hard to comprehend the situation where, for purely private profit, you can engage in a course of conduct for years, mislead arbitrators and mislead courts, make submissions to courts, and file affidavits which were false. It's difficult to understand how that could